Hi everyone, my name is Meghan Mulcahy and I am on the acting faculty here at Terry Knickerbocker Studio. I teach the Meisner technique and I'm a Meisner trained actor as well as a director and an actor. And this is Seika.
Hi, I'm Seika. I am an actor and movement performer.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I am a graduate of the Terry Knickerbocker acting program.
Yeah.
Two-year conservatory. And it's been about a year since I graduated.
Very good.
Yes.
Yeah. How did you find your way to the studio in the first place?
How did I find my way? I guess I wanted to be a main character actor. Like, I think I did a lot of training in how to be like a 5 lines or less actor.
Yeah.
And then I just knew that I had to bring myself like into the roles more, and I didn't know how to do that. And so I came here and I started with the intensive, and then I did the 2-year conservatory.
What was it? I'm always very curious because when I did this work, like we were just like straight into the 2 years.
Yeah.
Like buckle up kind of into the 2 years.
Yeah.
But what was it about the intensive that made you be like, okay, I'll buckle up for 2 years of this?
I think I was just really surprised at the sort of like unearthing that happens. And even in the first, like, 6 weeks or 18 classes or something.
Yes.
You know, like just to think that like, oh, I have all of these, like, I hate the word triggers. Is there another word you would use? But there's just something that lights, like something gets lit up.
In like a positive, artistic way?
In a positive, artistic way.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, like, I'm thinking of these awful metaphors. I'm like, it kind of
I love it.
Like it just really, there were just some things that were getting, just unearthed. Like I didn't know that was there.
Yes. And to, like, just I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
For someone who's maybe not familiar with where we begin, like the entire first year is about developing your actor's instrument, meaning with the exception of a couple of scenes done in a very particular way, everything's improvisational. We're not working with characters, for the most part, not working with text.
Right.
So I'm thinking about, I was working with, it was actually really amazing. Forgive me, this is a digression. But I was working with my students at the end of their first year today, and they were doing their 3rd round scene. So they're approaching text, doing scene work. And they were being I love this group. They're really great. They were being so tentative and so risk averse. As soon as I put text in their hands, they like wanted to let the text do like 70% of the work for them. Not because they didn't want to work, but because to not do that is so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I say that because I'm reminded of how at the beginning, what a rude awakening it can be, like to be like, you aren't playing a character, you don't have a script, there's no like way that this is supposed to go.
Yeah.
And yet it is tapping into like personal wells of meaning.
Yes.
Is like so much of what the task is to say like, we're not gonna, we work in the imaginary world, but you're still you under imaginary circumstances. So like, what are the things that light your fire?
Right. And I think the thing I've said to other people is that I didn't expect that, my life or what happens in my life is so extraordinary, like that it would put me in this like extreme circumstance and that like it makes something happen to you that you normally wouldn't feel or like you would act in ways that you don't normally act, right?
Yeah.
But then again, like if you read a newspaper, like crazy stuff happens every single day to regular people.
Yeah.
And so it's almost just like letting yourself actually go there.
Yeah.
And I think that was really exciting to me. The fact that for a while, in terms of being risk averse, like you're like, oh, well, that's not how I act. That's not how that's not who I am.
Yeah.
But then you're like, wait, but I've never been in that circumstance. you know.
Yes, yeah, totally.
And then stuff happens.
Yes.
And it's...
If you let it. If you let it. There was my teacher, my primary teacher of Meisner was Nate Flower, who he's on, I know you've worked with him.
Yes.
He's on the movement faculty here. He would say, I watch him work with students who he would say are behavioral minimalists, meaning like are doing their work but are private, meaning like we talk about how an actor's job is to create behavior, but they're private in that, meaning they're not really letting themselves be affected or letting others see that they're being affected by contact with another person, even in just kind of like very simple way. And people are often like, well, that's not me. Like, I'm not, this is coming from me where I'm teaching and I'm like, I tend to have a very like, I adopt it from him, frankly, like have a very extroverted way. And they're like, well, that's not me.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm never saying that you have to act like Meghan. But he would say to that, he's like, well, yeah, but an actor's job is to be readable.
Yeah.
And so there's a way in which you have to start practicing taking things as a reality, meaning like asking yourself if the work is about living through something truthfully under imaginary circumstances or doing truthfully under imaginary circumstances.
Right.
You have to allow that to happen to you, even if it's not your habitual way of responding, which takes a lot of courage. And that you have to, I don't know, because we're talking about that beginning feels so much like allowing yourself to make visible things that you probably would never have really shared with others. I'm not talking about like personal details about your life, but just your a kind of like openness.
Yeah, like I think a lot of people talk about expression and I don't think I really knew what that was until I started doing this work.
And how do you understand it now?
I just think that like to express something and it's not like a showing, but an actual like willing to go through something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Willing to be seen while going through something. Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
And do you remember at the beginning that, and I have so much affection for this and compassion for this, that people start to have real experiences that they can't plan for.
Yeah.
That's what happens at the beginning.
Yeah.
And they like often just kind of like want to go into their shell a little bit. And something I don't know, again, I have so much, it's why I love to teach this, because it's so exciting. And it's such a privilege to get to kind of be a part of it when somebody is starting to discover what their artistry looks like.
Yeah. I think when I watch things that I really, really enjoy, you know, a lot of times it's like people are acting a little, like the characters are acting a little kooky, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, damn, that's so human.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what happens right in the beginning. I think when things are starting to pop off, it's like, dang, like, I'm a human being. Like, and it sounds so crazy to be like, I'm a real girl. But like, that's kind of what happened to me. I felt like I did the intensive and I was like, oh, like there's all this human stuff that either I didn't want to show or I didn't know I had in me or whatever. Like I'm getting put in this circumstance or this craft. I made this thing.
Yes.
That
Crafted
is
it yourself.
Yeah, I crafted it myself and like it's actually working on me. And oh my gosh, I'm gonna have this really human moment that I could have never predicted.
Yes.
And I think the best part of going into the program and like whatever I took out of it was that like I'm very much attracted to this like unpredictable like outcome, and it's exciting. You know, like sometimes I tell people like the best thing I got out of it is now I go risk. I'm like, I just want to run towards risk in a way that I don't think I had that necessarily to this extent before. Yeah. Because there's less fear of it. You know? Yeah. Like, I think it's really, this program teaches you not to be, either you might not be scared of risk, like you might be less risk averse, or you are still risk averse, but you're willing to go there because you know how to deal with that.
Yeah. That was me, by the way. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
When you decided to do the 2 years, how did you arrange your life around that?
Yeah, so I have a full-time job. I had a full-time job when I started. So for me, it was doing this 9 to 5 and then coming in the evenings to do all of my classes and as well as the weekends. So I did my acting classes plus voice and movement. I also did some supplemental classes in clown, and then we also would have to do like theater history and script analysis and things like that.
Yeah. What was that like for you, having those two things coexist?
Yeah.
Like having your life, your full-time job, all of that, but then you were all in this in terms of you were doing all of the classes you could take, etc. What was that like?
You know, it took a lot of sort of personal, I guess, like I needed a lot of enthusiasm for what I was doing.
Yes.
Like I was like really bought into like the thing that I committed myself to. So I felt like I was just planning my life around, okay, I have to get this done so then I can do my coursework and then I can like go to class and show up and actually be present and not thinking about my job. You know, I actually would turn off my phone during class. Yeah. Because I was like, I just cannot be there, you know. But yeah, I think I just made it work.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if there's anything else you can do. I will say, I tell people with full-time jobs, I actually think that your full-time job gets easier when you're in this program because you're like not procrastinating. Yeah. And you're like, at least for me, I was like, okay, I need to get this all done and then I can do the thing that I actually want to do. Yeah. And I actually told some people, after you graduate, doing your full-time job gets harder because you have nothing driving you to do your job anymore. Oh, man. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot. But I mean, everyone in my class, you know, who does the night class, like that's sort of that's what we do. Yeah. And I don't think there's any slacking off. I actually think like the class is very motivated because it's a lot of people who are using their free time to do the work. Yeah. So it's a really great group. Yeah. Yeah.
I've had that experience also, I think. And that was my sense of it too. And when I look back on what those 2 years were like, what I was doing in those 2 years was I was training. Yeah. And everything else that was also a part of it, all the other things I was involved in became, I don't know, compartmentalized in such a way that I could like pour all of myself into the work. And you have to want that.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. Yeah. Wow. When you think about yourself now, I don't know, like having gone through such a, it's so immersive, the 2 years. Yeah. I don't know what, if you're thinking about someone who's sort of balking at that idea of, oh my God, it's a 2-year conservatory, why not do something that's a little bit more bite-sized, you know? What perspective do you have on that?
I kind of feel that you get what you give, you know? And if you do a bite-sized thing, you're gonna get a bite-sized thing in return, you know? And I just think there's just so much value in just jumping in. And I'll even go as far to say that I tell people, you know, try to do as much as like you can while you're in the program because there's already momentum. Yeah. And sometimes that's the hardest thing. It's like just to start is the hardest part. So once you're in it, just like go for it. You know, like the momentum will continue building, right? Yeah, because once you're out of the program, there's also people who are like, oh, I'll come back and take classes. And I have seen people do that, but it's a lot harder to get yourself here when you don't have like everything else going for you, when your whole life isn't just like, at least for myself, it was tailored to do the program, you know? So, I mean.
I think about the 2 years seems substantial, and then at the same time, I mean, I've been thinking about this work for so many years in that it has a way of it has a way when you're all into it, and I think any aspect of the curriculum can do that. Like the acting work calls for that, but is so helpfully. What would be the word? I don't know. Like the movement, the voice, the clown, that stuff.
Like holistic?
Yeah. Helps bring that out so much more, like coming at it from all angles. 'Cause it's very hard. It's very hard, this work. But it will keep working on you for years and years to come. Meaning, when I think about the training, I don't...
I mean, it's an art. You know what I mean? Like, it's not science, and it's not just like 1 + 1 = 2. And I feel like there is such a mystery between like what we want to do and like the thing we're training to do, and then when it actually happens and is like expressed through the work, right? So it's like, you know, you can do the acting, you can do movement, you can do voice, and you don't really know how it's all going to sort of jigsaw together and actually come out in like the way that you want it to come out. But I think that's the beauty of giving yourself the time to develop that. Because again, 2 years seems like a lot, but like it's gonna go by anyway. And that's something Celestine said to me in our like beginning interviews. She was like, Seika, you know, I know you're thinking about doing this program. The 2 years is gonna go by anyway. And you might be exactly where you are now, or you could be, you know, you could have so much more in 2 years. And that meant a lot to me because I had a lot of doubts about, you know, it's a long time. I feel like I'm gonna lose out on, you know, 2 years of, I've already put so much into trying to book stuff and building my resume and all of this stuff. And I'm a woman, I'm getting old. It's like all of these things. But, you know, it was like, I really do think that doing this program helped me to also prioritize like what's important, I think, versus sort of the nonsense that can be, you know, sort of what people want to put their attention on in this business, you know?
Yeah. It feels like the craft to me feels like a bedrock that, yes, can handle all of the nonsense that comes up in the business, you know? That's like, no matter what, I have something that's like on the one hand, it's a process, like a repeatable process for how do I make what I want to happen as an actor in a really cool and truthful way. But at the same time, it's like a vocation and it's a spirit of what like good craft looks and feels like for me in contact with other people that I had to grow that, but it's mine in whatever work I do. And the reason I teach is because watching people develop that is like the coolest thing for me. And I feel privileged to be a part of it. It makes me emotional to think about.
Yeah, I'm getting emotional listening to you.
But because it is, I have never seen better acting than the acting I've seen in these rooms. When there are no cameras, like there's no, it's so process oriented, it's not result oriented, but and by people who look like you and me and who are just like doing our full-time jobs and then coming here because we want to explore something personal and that's unique to us, and being a part of that is so exciting. It's what I love about the craft.
Absolutely. I feel like there's a relationship with the room and even the door, without giving too much away.
Without giving too much away, the Meisner door.
Yeah, the Meisner door. You know, I think even as an actor, like before, understanding environment and how that affects you can be so sort of, I don't know, like hard to grasp. But when you actually are sitting in the room every day, whatever, and then you're with your cohort and you're with your teacher and you have this trust in like this space that is, you know, I like the word sacred, right? Like, I just think that it's such a special sort of safe place to to try stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like you just learn so much quicker, like so much more about environment and like making something yours in sort of this white space.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Terry would say, like, so much of what we're exploring, particularly at the beginning, is like, what are the things I need to act? Like, what are the things we need for acting to happen? And no more, as in things start really, really simple.
Yeah.
And then one of those is like, what do I need to do to take this space as a reality?
Yeah.
And I think it's your actor's faith, like your sense of your sense of the faith in being able to like look around and be like, okay, this is my studio apartment.
Yes.
Like, okay, that's my front door, and someone just knocked on it. Which sounds so simple, but it can be so wild.
It's so
to
wild.
Watch people like turn a dial, like turn onto a different wavelength in their brain where they're like, oh, it is, like I can take this as a reality.
Yeah.
And that skill, like even when you're on a set that has no sense of reality, or you're in a black box theater and you're using blocks and chairs and you're pretending.
Yeah.
The ability to do that starts there at the beginning.
And that's like in the beginning.
Yes, very beginning.
What is that called? Like the privacy, your sense of privacy? There's like a phrase.
Public solitude?
Public solitude, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that too is such a special part of this like 2-year process is building your own sense of public solitude.
Which means what, by the way? How do you understand that?
It's just, again, it's like a sister to what we were talking about, just the fact that like I can build, like this is real to me. Yeah, and like I'm not performing for my class, like this is something that's happening to me, and I like it's so real to me that like that's not even there anymore.
Yeah.
Like the people sitting in the bleachers, and I think it's so special when you can just do that and learn how to do that and get practice in doing that. It's so different than just starting in a scene study class and being like, well, here's my, scene that I practiced and I still see everybody there, right? I feel like that's actually so special.
How would you describe you at the beginning, like your work at the beginning and how you engaged with it versus now? What was the arc of that like for you?
I think in the beginning I was really like stuck up is not the right word, but in the beginning I was just sort of like I had a chip on my shoulder about being a hard worker, and I was all about that, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but I think in the work that we're doing, like if your entire like sense of self is built on like I work hard and I'm gonna outwork everybody. I just don't like it works for a while, and I think the thing that happened to me in this program is I learned that I had to start listening to my actor self and like my creative self, and that was a really interesting transformational process for
What's
me.
the difference between your work, your like chip on your shoulder work part versus your actor creative part?
I think that it's softer, my creative part. I think it's, for lack of a better word, like more feminine. Like I think it had, it really is something that, it was like I had to develop an ear for listening to like what was calling me, specifically in second year, when we get to do a little bit more of like the Spoon River work, and like you get to choose what you're working on, things like that. But I think that, I don't know, I think there was a sense of confidence that I was more than just my hard work. Like I had, for lack of a better word, like I had a gift, or I had talent, which I used to think that like other people have talent. I have hard work. And I think that is not, that's kind of sad, a sad way to like approach acting, you know? But I think that having done the first year work and seeing like how much there was that I didn't even know about myself, and then to start to actually believe that like there is something I'm bringing to the table that has nothing to do with just like how much time I'm putting in. I don't know, that was, I feel like that was the difference between me really being like, this is about like how much time I'm gonna commit and like, you know, work I'm gonna do, and then like just like going in there and being like, I'm here and I'm showing up and like this is what I have to offer today.
Yeah.
And I know it's like sort of, it's like a little bit hard to explain, but
yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. It feels like what comes clearer and clearer as you get, as people start to like adjust to the work, as the work starts to kind of like happen in people, is I think is you learn how to trust this interesting tension between you have to work hard. Oh my God. Like, yeah, you have to be so committed to that. And to being like, I am someone who's going to give everything I can in the time that I have to this, which is where like the crafting part comes in, when you do all your actors' homework, being committed to rehearsal, showing up on time, et cetera, and you do all that work. And then when you enter the rehearsal, being able to like open your grip and just say, all that stuff that I planned for, I now have to just let go of and let happen, like to trust the homework is what we would say. And that is such a, I would say to students, like you have to let yourself do a trust fall on your homework. Meaning you're only gonna know if your homework's working for you if you like let go of it and see what's happening. But it's a really mature skill, I think, and a challenging one, to be able to care a lot and show up fully for your crafting, but then to give it up to God a little bit when you're in there with your partner, and trust that the stuff that comes out of you when you are not trying to arrange the outcome, when you are not planning for it, indicating is going to be so much more interesting and human and exciting than anything that you could have planned for in your bedroom before you got there.
Yeah, I think it has a lot, like I like the word trust. Trust, it brings my mind to another word like control, right? And it's like so much about hard work can, at least for me personally, I think had to do with control, you know? And just letting go of that idea that like hard work was gonna get me anything was like loosening up the grip of like me needing to control the outcome. And then just letting the process work on me instead of white knuckling through everything. And I think I became expansive, like more expansive and generous. Celestine had told me, stop being such a good student. Because I wasn't very happy with the scene, like how I had done in a scene. And I was like, hey, you know, I wasn't really happy. I know I wasn't doing, like, I didn't really crack it. So when we go into this next thing, you know, I want to pick for Spoon River, I want to pick a character where I could work on a similar thing, continue to work on that thing. And she was like, Seika, she goes, first off, you always show up in a way where you're like ready to work. And you're always on the ball, you know, in terms of like, you're never taking just like a day off in acting class, you know? But she kind of was like, I think you gotta just like loosen up a little and let yourself kind of just do what you want and stop trying to like fix everything you think you're not good at. And that was that was the beginning of like, I feel like a very wild and fun ride. And it's been like, I don't think I've gotten off that, you know? Yeah.
Totally. I was a very risk-averse student, to be sure. Not, sounds silly to say, not on purpose. I mean, not on purpose. Or kind of like, didn't mean to be. I think I thought of myself as a really eager, passionate, excellent student. Yeah, like so hardworking and all of that. But so, I think so oblivious at the same time to like what it was really gonna cost me, and I mean that in a really positive way. Like how much of being a good actor is not about hiding from who you are, or like, you know, putting on another character, like you're putting on a big fur coat or something, but is about using yourself, your humanity, your imagination, all that stuff to bring you to a character, or to the imaginary circumstances or what have you. And I was petrified of that for a long, long time, and loved the work immediately. I always loved it, and was so inspired watching my classmates. Like, I would go and I'd write in my journal, like, oh my God, this person did this today. Like, I am so hungry for that. I want that so bad, but I was so petrified. And it was such I look back on that and I don't think of that as I don't know. I don't blame myself for that or think of that as like a missed opportunity in the time. I was like, that was what it was like to kind of dig to China for me. Like that's what it was like for me to like come up against the wall again and again and being like, I don't know how to open this door, but I really want to. And I was always afraid, but learned that on the days that I got up out of my chair and did the thing, no matter how it went, I was always happier than the days when I sort of sat back and tried not to have to go in acting class. And that's what I got better at, is that I was an actor who could kind of like trust that it would all be okay on the other side. And that I could not plan how it was going to go, if I was going to be good or if I was going to be bad. Though I got better and better and better, of course, that happens. But that I was always, I grew a sense of courage that I think you need to be a part of this business. What is something that surprised you?
What surprised me?
Through the course of it, or something that you didn't expect to happen to you or to your work?
There's so many things, and I know that's like a weird, like, vague answer. I'll just try to break it down. I was thinking about something earlier where I was really stressed out about a scene or something, and then Kakra was like, you know, Seika, you do really well when you just get to the point where you're just sick of the scene and you're like, F it, I don't care anymore, and then something happens that's really magical. And I was like, oh, there's something about that, the whole thing of just letting it go and trusting your work and being like, well, you know, I think that it takes time to do everything you need to do to get to that point. And I think that's really surprising. Something that I think is really surprising was like, I didn't understand really what drove me from, like, in a positive way that didn't feel taxing. And that for me is like the idea that like, oh, that feels good. And I think I really learned that in like voice and movement and clown, like kind of learning like how to come from a place that's not so much like, I need to, you know, do this like emotional preparation and it's so hard and whatever. And I was like, no, like what feels nice? And I don't think I ever explored that as, I mean, maybe as a child, right?
But
certainly. Like as an adult, people are not like, oh yeah, do what is like pleasurable to you. But I think as an artist, like that was something I got to, or as a student, I got to explore that. I got to explore, what do I actually like? And like, how does it make me feel? And what feels good? And like, how does that, knowing that, inform the way that I like do my work?
How do I have a process that like is sustainable and joyful,
Yeah.
as opposed to, I mean, we have such a thing about like the suffering artist,
Yeah.
you know, and that is something that is not part of this from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's like, first of all, you don't have to suffer to do the work. In fact, it's not recommended that you suffer while doing the work.
Yeah, so I think that was really surprising to me.
Yeah,
that I would be driven, that I would actually be more driven by that, right? That principle or that value rather than like going back to like the hard work or like the suffering artist or any of that. You know, there's the fact that I would like find that.
Yeah.
And I gave myself time to explore it and like figure out a way that was really truthful for me. And yeah, that was really surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
You're saying that and I'm thinking, what was surprising to me is that I learned that I had no point of view about most things.
What? I can't believe that about you because I know you now.
No point of view. As in, as like, I remember this was so close to the beginning, and we do this, is you say, like, walk through the world and ask yourself, how do you feel about stuff? Like, you know, we live in New York City, like, how do you feel about, I used this example recently. I walked into a subway car, and it was covered in coffee grounds. Like, the floor was covered in coffee grounds. I'd never seen that before. Like, how do you feel about the fact that today on the subway, the floor was covered in coffee grounds? Like, it could be worse, but it's also a little weird and unpleasant. Or how do you feel about the way that person looked at you? Or how do you feel about that interaction you had with the cashier just then? And that was so hard for me because I was so unpracticed at it. Like I don't know, when you're talking about hard work, I'm like, yeah, I was an excellent student, but it was very good at doing what people told me to do, but not, didn't have my like senses open to that. It was very scary to do that. So I learned that I had no point of view about stuff. And therefore that muscle, because that muscle was underdeveloped in me, I didn't have full range of motion in my artistic instrument. Meaning, like we would say, first year is about if learning to be able to like play all the keys on the piano. And if all the keys on the piano, you know, is a certain amount of range, like I had about that much. Because we all to a different degree have those like life habits, those defense mechanisms and way of coping that's just like, yeah, I'm not gonna have a point of view about what I saw on the subway today. Or I'm not gonna have better not to have a point of view about that. And to be able to explore that in a place with, first of all, with people who are all kind of doing the same thing and undergoing the same thing, and in a place that was saying, to do that, like to discover those things in yourself can be positive instead of, I don't know, like arduous and you know, where you have to like suffer for it. That it could just be like a really cool process of discovery with a direct line to, not just for the hell of it, but with a direct line to how it would inform the way that I showed up in the work.
Sure.
So that was a huge surprise. And to have walked away with a better and always like bettering ability to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I will get together with a group of friends of mine who did this work, and we did our training about 10 years ago, and we will say, not a day goes by that I don't think about Meisner. Like, not a day goes by that I don't think about that. And so yes, it was totally life-changing in that it was like a total reorientation of how I thought about what acting is. In like, I don't know, I still remember like being there on the first day and my teacher saying like, you're gonna learn that what happens to you, what kind of work comes out of you when you are working spontaneously, moment to moment, will be so much more interesting than anything you could cook up beforehand. And I was like, I don't know, I felt like I was like gonna learn the secret of the universe. Like, it was just so like, really? It was so exciting. And from that to learning how to do that in the company of really great people, like a weird and complicated group of individuals who are all really committed to that.
Yeah.
There wasn't really an aspect of my life that wasn't touched by that, for the better.
Oh.
I don't know. What about you?
Well, I had a few thoughts. I think that sometimes, like, when we don't have a point of view, and I think that was very much me as well.
It's always, like, I mean, it's a lot of people, but it's women a lot too, you know?
Yeah, I think in a way it's sort of like maybe subconsciously or consciously taught to us that maybe it's even unproductive.
Yes.
To have a point of
or
view.
Or unsafe sometimes.
Or unsafe. And, like, what's really, I think, kind of interesting is that when you do the training and you start working on your point of view, it's so productive for your art.
Yes.
Right? And, like, that's the whole point.
Whole point of it.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, you need to have that because, like, that informs your art. And in that way, the life-changing part for me is that it really changed the way that I started showing up in the world, like, feel things. And, like, it's okay to be human. You know, you don't have to be a robot, you know, or maybe it's like you're not a robot. You've been trying to be a robot, but you're not one. And that, I mean, just the other day, I was telling someone, you know how to, another Meisner actor was like, if you know how to do anything, it's how to listen and then respond truthfully.
Yeah, from your point of view.
Yeah, you know, and I think that's one of those things where, like, you actually learn things here that apply to everything. In addition to acting.
Someone I saw recently, they had done this work, and I can't remember how this came up, but they were like, yeah, they're talking about something totally different. And they were like, yeah, I mean, so cool that we got to learn this skill that is so helpful relationally, you know, like this ability to listen and respond to others without bullshit. Which is not to say that we can't have our, you know, out in life, we can't have our boundaries and things like that, but to be able to do that, it was like putting on, it was like putting on glasses for the first time and being able to see the world in a fuller way. I kind of feel like there's, like, something about the moment to moment work too that is, like, really reinforces the idea that, like, how to be relational, and the listening part makes things not just transactional, and that's, like, that is our art and acting, but that is also, like, such a huge life lesson, you know, about how to be a person. You know? And in a roundabout way, hugely helpful for the business. Too. Like, just to have an awareness of yourself and your point of view, and then also your impact on others, which is sort of what the work gets made of in an imaginary context. And all this empathy for yourself and for others, like, helps a lot when you're out there in the when you're out there in the world and you're out there in the industry and working with people, because this is such a relational business that we're in.
That so much more than people want to actually, you know, recognize or accept. You know, it's, people always want to talk about networking or all of this stuff, and I'm like, so much is just about, like, who you are as a person, and if people want to actually work with you.
If they want to work with you. My roommate who did the training with me sometimes says, he's like, I feel like there are aspects of the work that are red and aspects of the work that are blue. And what he means is, the blue stuff is kind of what we've talked about a lot, which is the more ephemeral, kind of magical part. Like, where's that artistic spirit that this work does a really good job of, like, helping you harness. The other part of it is, like, the red stuff, meaning the structure, the form. So much of this work, and really I should say, like, all of the work, if this helps, like, my teacher would have said, like, hold up a cup of water here, and, like, this container is the form. and then you fill it with all that other stuff. But without the form, it'd be as if I just like chucked the water on the floor, and it'd be like, that's your emotional life. Those are your instincts. It's not that so many actors come in. It's not that they don't have that, but it's that it's really formless. It's really like you can't really harness it.
Sure.
And so that's what I mean when I talk about the red and the blue. Like the red, the stuff that's actually structural and repeatable. Yeah. Training is about having a reliable process. And what we often, talk about how exciting it is, how transformative it is, but at the end of the day, it is a repeatable process of how do I work on crafting, which is like, what do I need to have done beforehand, the actor, to prepare myself to live out truthfully in an imaginary circumstance? And then how do I be present with another actor and listen and respond moment to moment in a way that where something happens, because in acting something has to happen. Of course we know we're going for a result, like we want it to go a certain way.
Sure.
And so, I mean, those tools of being able to be like, I know what I need to craft here.
Yeah.
I know what I'm supposed to enter the scene in a certain emotional state. I know how to do that. I'm supposed to have a relationship with you that's not the relationship we have. You need to be my terrible mother, or you need to be my cousin who made a pass at me last night or something.
Yeah.
This just shows I got my head in the mice. But like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
Okay, know how to do that. And then character work. How do I take all that stuff that I like, all that creativity that I dredged up, and then change it from, how do I alter myself so that I can still be as truthful, but through the lens of a character.
Sure.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
And really repeatable.
Yes.
Or I don't know, have you found that as you've been through the whole thing, and then now as you like do work and you think about that, do you find that those tools are at your disposal?
I do, and I think that it really depends on what I'm working on, and because some things you get for free.
Yes, and that's so much a part of it, right?
That's so much a part of it. My personal journey with you getting some things for free is knowing that, that thing is like in my pocket. Like that's my pocket. Yeah. I know how to do that because I have trained so much that now these are the things I know come easier to me, or maybe more organically to me. Totally. It's a little bit closer to who I am, or whatever.
Closer to what has meaning for me.
Yeah, sure. I know that gets me going. Like I know how to do that. Versus now there is this character who feels far from me, and I have to work for it a little bit more, or work on it a little bit more.
You have to transform parts of yourself.
Yeah, and then I think that I can at least, I've built up enough trust and confidence that I can say, now I know that I can do this.
Yeah.
My
teacher would say, we operate kind of on this definition of acting that is, acting is not just living truthfully under imaginary circumstances, but doing truthfully under imaginary circumstances. Yeah. And my teachers would say, well, if you're not feeling it, thank God you've got something to do. And I think about that all the time because I had so many experiences where if I came in feeling a little lost, like I don't quite know how to operate here, thank God I had something to do, which is where the craft, and by doing, I even take like a broader sense of that like, I know I've made decisions about how I want the scene to go, and about what actions I'm going to be taking. Yeah. And the training has taught you how through that, you'll fill it up. Yeah. With all kinds of truthful stuff. And that is like, I wouldn't have had that without training.
Yeah, I mean, it brings to mind, I was working on Doll's House 2 with Nate, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a walk in the park. It wasn't. And it was so much of like really leaning on the tools that we learned and like working on it with Nate to figure out like, what am I doing in the scene? And sometimes it was coming up against like what I wanted to be doing in the scene versus what was actually happening in the scene, and being like giving myself over to that, and then just being like, I'm gonna just do the thing that Nora is doing.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, I do. I make the character's meanings my meanings, and I do what the character does.
I'm going to do what the character does, you know? Like, and that really helped me get so much closer to, you know, what I was working on.
I watch actors who have so much life inside them and so much talent, but are like, I don't know what to do with this. Or sometimes I walk in and I feel like I hit gold. And then other times it's like I can't find that.
Yeah.
And training is what, for me, said, no matter what, you always have something to do.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's that doing that enables the rest of it to happen. And so even on the days, you know, because we're doing this because it's a career, even on the days when you've had a good day or a bad day, and you're playing Juliet and you've just fallen in love, or you're playing Juliet and you've just gotten your heart stomped on, how do you get there?
Yeah.
And that has been so, like that, the way of organizing it, I think is really important for actors who want to do this in a rich but sustainable way.
Right. Yeah, I love the idea of, it's not just an idea, but it's like the repeatable process. You know, like understanding like I know how to approach anything that like I'm given, any type of text, whether it's Shakespeare or something that's not so great, but like I know how to make this like my own, or I know how to do something with this, and that's really special. You know, I don't think you always get that. And
empowering, I think.
For sure.
Yeah. To someone who is on the fence about the commitment or the experience of like what's it like to do to train in a conservatory, I think that if you are hungry for it, like as in you think about what it'd be like to do that, and it gets your heart racing just a little bit, like I want to be like that. Or you look at actors who have trained, whom you adore, whose work you adore, and you're like, wow, they just did that. Like, and that to me like looks like a magic trick. How did they do that? I want to be able to do that. Then the only way out is through, my friend. Meaning like we, on a practical level, I think it's, though I understand why people do, I think it's a little nonsensical to discount the importance of training in what we do to be able to be if you want to be the best actor you can be. Yeah. In not any other discipline, you'd have to really train, and this is no different. And that it's an opportunity to pursue what you love in a really holistic, empowering, like community-oriented way. Yeah. And when we talk about why this work is life-changing, like that is so much part of it that, you know, and by the way, I'm someone who, had I really, really known what it was gonna take for me to do this, like for me to really do this work, I don't know if I would have said yes, because I was afraid. And to that person, I'm like, that's why you should do it. If you feel a little, if you feel like that dizzying feeling that's like, I could fall in love with this, but oh my God, I'm a little scared. Yeah. That's why you should do it. And take advantage of that feeling. Yeah. It is so powerful. The tools are so important. And I mean, I've not regretted it a day in my life.
Yeah. Sometimes fear really is just like masking this like excitement. Yeah. You know? And at least for me, I also worked on this during the program, was feeling that I wanted to keep myself from being disappointed. So I wouldn't try things because I was just like, oh no, but I'll be devastated. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that part of like sort of feeling a little bit scared about doing the 2-year program is really just like you're so excited. You know, like the idea of like,
yes.
I could be the best actor I could be. Like I could, like, I think that, right, is really what's underneath the fear of actually jumping in and, you know, like the fear of actually being the actor you want to be, right? And to your point, like, it's like the only way out is through, and you just jump in and do it, you know, because you'll never know. And again, the 2 years will go by and you'll either be the same way that you were, or you could be so much more.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm into more.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
How did life after, you know, Meisner? It's never ended for you.
Well, it's circled back around. But look, I mean, the community was a huge aspect of it, in that it was my community I trained with, whom I trusted, like that I was able to, not only were they there to support me when I was doing the difficult work of, you know, being out there, trying to make a life at this, but they were the people I was like learning from and making work with.
Yeah.
I learned, like, I think we're very, and I think we're very much in a time of, to put it in a very technical way, like actors being multi-hyphenates, kind of. But to me, that just means being able to go toward lots of different things that interest you. And it was through my community and like the tools that I learned, like the things I learned about acting, everything I know about directing, I learned from this work. And then have honed it from that baseline. And everything I know about teaching came from this work. Everything I know about being a teacher of Meisner is because I did it. And then as an actor, it's just like kept on developing, and my understanding of it keeps on developing.
Yeah.
And I feel more and more excited about it too, like the older I get and the more I change. So it gave me my entire artistic vocabulary, and a network of people who understood that, not just like the business, like who were in the business of it, and we could prop each other up and give each other opportunities and help each other grow, but also I felt so supported in what can be a lonely transition. That was huge for me. Yeah. What about you? When you, as you've graduated, how have you found yourself supported by the work that you did here, by the tools and by the community?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the community, you can't pay, like there's no price you can pay for that community that you get, you know? I think they're my closest friends, again, in my personal life, but also in my like professional life. Like they support me in what I want to do, and they also understand, you know, the trials of being in the business, but also, you know, now I'm creating my own work. That's something that I, like, this is my artistic home, you know, and I didn't have that before I was here. And I think that's really special, right? To have people who understand you, not just from this like personal human level, but also of you being an artist and like having, you know, I once asked someone like, you know, do you ever wake up and you're just like, I need to make something? And they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But like, you know, if I were to say that to you, you'd be like, yes.
Felt that way today.
Yes.
Made these pants. Yeah.
Great pants,
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. But I think that's one of those things, you know, you get this community, you get people who just get you, and that's really special. And then in terms of what I learned here and the tools, I mean, I'm not, every role is new, and there's a little bit of scariness, but that, I think to me, it's really exciting. Like I said, like if I feel there's a little risk, I'm like, yes. You know, like it's very attractive to me.
Yeah, and I would say from my point of view, because, oh gosh, and I sometimes am a little like, oh, do I really want to go toward that risk even after all this time? But what I can do is I can look at a script and I can say, okay, I know that I've got these things that I need to do in order for me to be able to do my best work. These are the things I need to pin down. These are the things I need to work on. And that gets me in the water.
Yeah. Which
in a business like this that can be challenging, that is like how I have put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
And that's like invaluable to me.
It is very strange to like look back and think, because I feel like the process keeps working on you and it doesn't feel like the end.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like the end, but it is the end of this talk.
That is true. Thank you,
Yes.
Seika. Thank you for being here.
you.
It's a privilege to get to talk to you.
Oh my God.
I mean that. And thank you for listening. I hope to see you around the studio.
Bye.
Bye.